Hello, welcome. My name is Elizabeth. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm really glad you're here because I read an amazing series of books by Kyla Stone referred to the Edge of series. Now, there are 7 books in the series and a prequel for a total of 8 books, and I'm going to do a separate upload for each one of them. So, just a little bit of background on the basic plot. This is the story of what happens when an EMP blast goes off. Now, EMP stands for electromagnetic pulse. And an EMP blast will render all electronics completely useless. And not just for a short period of time, but forever. Those things will simply no longer work. Nothing with a computer chip of any kind will work after the blast. These stories take place in northern Michigan in December, so to be very clear to those who might not know about northern Michigan, it is cold in December. Very, very cold, and there is a ton of snow. Now, the first 3 books, will all begin at the same time, either just prior to or as the EMP hits. The 5th book in the series was supposed to be the last one, but the author discovered there was more to the story and decided to add 2 more. So that's the background. Today's video, I'm going to cover Chaos Rising by Kyla Stone. It is the prequel. It's not the first one I read. The first one I read was book 1. It was the second one I read. But I'm going to start with the prequel because I think that's the place to start. And I do have some trigger warnings for this. There is mass casualties. There's crashing planes. There's emergency C-section. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of sadness, shock, PTSD, and references to child abuse. So keep all that in mind. But if you're interested in hearing the whole story, join me for the ride. Chaos Rising. There are really 3 main characters in this book, and that's really it. The rest of the people are all tangential. We've got Liam, Lincoln, and Jessa. Okay, so Liam and Lincoln are twins. They grew up in a very abusive household with an alcoholic father and no mother. Dad was often drunk and abusive towards his boys. In fact, there's a story that I think it's Liam remembers when they turned 11 and they had been promised a fishing trip by their dad. But when they woke up the morning of their birthday, their dad is completely drunk again, or maybe still. So the 2 boys, at the urging of Lincoln, took the father's truck and went on the fishing trip by themselves. So these boys learned to be self-sufficient pretty early, pretty young, and that carried on for, well, we'll get to that. Okay, so Lincoln is the friendly, outgoing, social one. Liam is a loner. Liam is the one who could survive the wilderness for months on end, not just because he has the skills, but because he can handle being alone. The boys are attending a college party. They're not in college. They're both military bound. But at this party, they meet this freshman girl by the name of Jessa. And actually, it was Liam that met her first. And he's always shy, and when he sort of like says hello, and then that's sort of it. And then he keeps looking at her. And so a little while later at the party, he finds his brother, and he says to his brother, I'm going to go talk to that pretty girl over there. And Lincoln says, yeah, she is really pretty. Great idea. And he goes off to hit on her. Lincoln does. Now, Liam will never know for sure if he was misheard by his brother or if his brother didn't believe that he would actually go talk to her, so he decided to. They never talk about it. But he does know full well the history really doesn't matter because once Jessa and Lincoln meet, the rest is history, as they say. Jessa and Lincoln would fall in love and get married and have a life together. No matter that Liam saw her first and was in love with her the moment he saw her, and always would be, it was Jessa and Lincoln forever. Okay, so both boys went into the military. Lincoln was a soldier who had 2 tours in Afghanistan. Liam, on the other hand, was in special forces, and he had served 5 tours. He had been medically discharged due to 5 crushed discs in his back caused by jumping out of airplanes into hostile territory. Still, Liam was strong, stronger than most, and his injuries did nothing to change that. If anything, they just made him like a second or two slower. Lincoln was in much worse shape. Lincoln had severe PTSD from his tours, but the couple, Jessa and Lincoln, are financially okay because Jessa's a doctor. She's actually an OBGYN. Liam, so that's the background information about the family and who these 3 people are. So the story starts with Liam flying back to Chicago. Okay, he's going back home to visit Lincoln and Jessa is nearly 9 months pregnant, so he's hoping that he will get to meet the baby while he's visiting, right? So the couple picks him up from the airport, and it's Jessa who jumps out of the car to greet Liam. He hugs her and then demands she gets back in the car and out of the cold air, 9 months pregnant. He puts his luggage in the trunk, takes his to-go bag to have with him in the back seat. He wishes he could arm himself, but airport rules are very specific, and he knows he shouldn't do that. But he knows he has his Glock in the bag next to him, and that's the best he can do at this point, so that's what he has to do. So while out of the car, Liam asks how Lincoln is doing, and Jessa admits worse. He is worse. So when Liam gets in the car, he tries to talk to his brother, but Lincoln is full of small talk to fill the air. Liam has never been very good at small talk, so he decides that the brothers will talk when they get a moment alone at the couple's apartment later. Lincoln then says they're headed to a lunch place, they have an afternoon plan, and they already know where they're going to have dinner, so long as the baby stays where he is for the time being. So, clearly Lincoln doesn't want there to be any lull in any conversation so that his brother can bring anything up that's heavy, right? Okay, so they're driving, they're not far from the airport, and all of a sudden Lincoln begins to yell. He can't stop the car, he can't control the car, and they're going to crash. Like, there is nothing he can do. He is screaming about how it's not responding, all of a sudden, so they crash. Liam bangs his head into the front seat and then tries to check on the adults in the front seat. Jessa says that she can't get the door open, but the baby is fine, she can tell. So, everyone's sort of a sigh of relief when she says the baby's okay. Lincoln jumps out of the car, seemingly to help Jessa, and at the same time that Liam gets out as well, they discover that there is an airplane falling out of the sky. I mean, an airplane, hits in the city, falls down and far away, but there's another one that is literally heading directly towards them. Liam runs around the car to get Lincoln and finds him on the ground in front of the driver's side door, laying on the ground in the fetal position with his arms over his head. He's slightly rocking. Liam realizes that both Jessa and his brother need help, but he only has time to save one of them. He has to make a choice. He goes to Jessa's side of the car and yanks the door open. He helps get her out of the vehicle and then runs both of them towards a building's lobby. Jessa yells for Lincoln, and Liam says, I saw him get away from the car. We'll find him. Then the impact hits. Both of them are thrown. Jessa manages not to fall on her pregnant belly, and Liam finds himself on the ground, not quite to the lobby of the building he was headed for. He assesses. He's okay, banged up, but he's okay, and he goes to find Jessa. What happened? Why did the car stop working? Why did an airplane fall out of the sky? And why do none of the cell phones seem to work anymore? Because as Liam's looking around, he sees people checking their phones and shaking them and looking that nobody can get their phones to work. And that's when it occurs to him, this has got to be an EMP blast. This is not, the power goes out. The power going out doesn't stop your car from working. It doesn't stop an airplane from flying. It doesn't stop your cell phone from working. But an EMP blast, that would stop all electronics from working. And it was most likely caused by a nuclear bomb being set off in our atmosphere. Now, nuclear fallout is not going to be an issue because it's so far away from the Earth, but every electronic system will go down. Any machine that has been updated to include computer chips are fried, or anything that was made just with computer chips, fried, done. Now, there are some older model generators that are still working, some older model cars that are still working, and that's about it. Older model things that don't have any sort of computer chip, those things are still working. They're very few and far between, and certainly not around in Chicago. Liam finds Jessa. She asks instantly about Lincoln, and Liam assures her that saw him get out of the way and of the crash and the explosion, and then they're going to find him. He knows he's lying to her, but it's the only way that he can get her to focus on herself instead of on her husband. So he tells her that they have to get her up and they have to get moving, but she protests and shows him the piece of shrapnel that is piercing her upper thigh. They can both see that the metal has hit an artery, but Liam has a to-go bag. He has a tourniquet, so he gets the tourniquet situated on her leg. She screams. Tourniquet placements are very, very, very painful. But he does manage to get her tourniqueted and then the shrapnel removed so that he can actually move Jessa. At this point, Jessa is really only concerned about the baby, right? That's all she cares about. But Liam, of course, is concerned about both of them. Finally, Jessa says after they've been trying, they're like 2 miles away from the hospital, and Liam tries to like help her and get her, there as best as he can. But after a little while, Jessa really needs to rest. She can't keep moving forward. She has to rest. The two make it to a hotel where the front door is open. He yells that he needs a bed and is directed to a room after he gives the manager literally all the cash in his pocket. Jessa then tells Liam that she is dying. She knows, she can tell she's a doctor. She knows she's dying. But she also knows that he can save his brother's baby. He can save the love of his life's baby and his brother's baby. And together, the two of them deliver the baby, but before she can even give him a name, she dies. So Liam's mission has now changed. He is no longer trying to get to a hospital where she can give birth safely. Now he needs to get the baby somewhere where it will be safe. He thinks for a moment, and then he heads towards Jessa's parents' home. When he gets there, of course, they are very upset to hear what has happened to Jessa and Lincoln, but they are beyond grateful that Liam has been able to bring them their grandson. They name him Liam. And then Liam heads towards northern Michigan, where he has a 5-acre homestead where he can be alone. And here, the prequel ends. Now, I think the prequel is all about giving us Liam's background information because Liam is in the rest of the story. You'll see in the next one, there's no time or space to get his background or what happened to him when he experienced the EMP blast. And I loved getting a chance to see a little more about Liam and what happened to him and how he ended up, headed towards his homestead in Michigan and the trauma that he had been through, because he had already been through a great deal of trauma, but now he has very, very new trauma. And, he had to help his sister-in-law give birth and then deliver that baby and then leave that baby, thinking he's doing the right thing, but that doesn't mean that emotionally it's not going to hurt him. So that was the very short story of the prequel called Chaos Rising by Kyla Stone. And if you enjoyed this, it's really helpful if I could get a like or a comment, or if you're interested in hearing all of the books in this series, then hit subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those uploads. Otherwise, do me a favor and be nice to yourself. You are precious and important. I will catch you next time. Bye. These blasts and so there is okay. On the ground in front of the driver's, again, and Liam assures her that he saw Liam get out. Liam finds Jessa. She asks about Lincoln and Liam,